Yo, welcome back to Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets. It's The Mix, powered by Mayo Media Net here on YouTube and presented by Jock, the brand new daily fantasy app where we actually make money. And if you were watching the show and had shares of Greg Dulce de Leche like I did in the Bronco game, then you got paid as well. Yes, rate, review, and subscribe to the audio only pod. And in just a minute after I earn it, man, I've been up prepping this bad boy. I'm going to ask you to stick your cartoon fingers up inside me. That's the like button up on YouTube because it matters way more than it should. Are we ready for week 7, Thursday night foosball? It's actually viable football teams, or at least one of them and a half, maybe. I'm not so sure. It's the Cardinals and the Saints. New Orleans heading into the desert, I believe now. Enough of that. We need more of this, right? It's the fastest show in NFL absolutely anywhere with your host, John Laghezza at John Laghezza, JOHNLAGHEZZA. John Laghezza, flow sharper than a razor. We're doing our blue chip players for tonight. We're using Run the Sims to get the highest projected players on the slate. And then we're going to do a little cost per point analysis using those same projections and coming up with the best values on the slate. And then I got a player prop for ya. But come on, let's just dive into the work. We got so much to do and so little time to do it. Yes, I was correct. It was the Saints going to the desert. Oh, look, one of my mental blocks is the home and away stuff in football. And I know that can get you in trouble. So always trying to people always be working on the craft, trying to get better and better at the things that we do. Why? Because I really don't believe that you stay the same. I think if you think you stay the same, you're probably getting worse at whatever it is. And if you keep compounding that, you end up terrible at something. So try and get a little bit better at something every day incrementally. And then when you look back, you'll say, wow, what an improvement. All right, it's the Blue Chips brought to you by Jock. Download that app for free. Use the promo code MMN. They're going to match the first $100 for free. And if it's free, it's for me. Well, I told you we've been doing pretty well in Jock Market lately. And I think it makes a lot of sense as we've adapted to the new slate size. I think our approach is greater than size. So let's dive up into it. The top projected players on this slate for the Saints down in NOLA. It's Alvin Kamara, started getting that juicy usage last week. Hachi Machi Liberace with the 18-point projection. You got to think he can get that in any game script. Player like this is the guys that we love to get behind. Up or down, he's catching passes, running the ball. Last game out, he looked like the best player on the field. Really good to see Kamara getting the rock like that, and I think he gets a boost from Andy Dalton, right? More of a game managing kind of, let's not blow this. The best way to not blow it is give the ball to your best player. Man, as much as you like to knock backup QBs and guys like Dalton, understanding that the football belongs in the hands of your best players is something that works, and there are more than enough teams that just don't get that. So Kamara with the top projection at 18, then it's gap down to Andy Dalton at 13.5. Like I said, very vanilla, very game manager. Hard to back him on Jock Market because quarterbacks are generally expensive, and it's tough for a guy like Dalton to pop the top. Then Olave, welcome back. Olave, whoa, gotta love my man. He is a legit wide receiver 1. I think the low projection here, lack of volume, or expected at least, is probably based on a return. I don't know, a lot of times when players come back, I just say full go. So that's going to be up to us. We'll hash that out, again, a little bit later on. But I do like Olave. I think the projection is a bit low. Okay, don't be afraid to push back. Then it's Juwan Johnson. One note here. I did adjust this because Troutman I don't think is playing. And the projection system has Troutman getting his normal allotment in the games that Troutman hasn't played. It's all gone to Johnson. I feel pretty confident in that. So I like him with the 8-point projection. And Traquan Smith, secondary player with 7.7. But, he could pop it, but it's just been really tough. It's not really Dalton's game. I think they're better off near the line of scrimmage over to the Cardinals up in the desert. One of the most dysfunctional teams in the National Football League. I think I've seen every Cardinal stat. As much as I like Kyler Murray, it's not a knock on him. I think he's a very good player. They're just gross. They're not creative at all. It's the least creative offense in football. Just can't stand it. Murray has the top projection on the board at 21.5. Dropped down to DeAndre Nuke Hopkins is back with the 17.2, so he's being projected right near Kamara. I'd rather have Kamara and the volume. Again, the Arizona pass game has not been very good. To Eno Benjamin, who let the entire world down as a chalk donkey with 16 points. Rondale Moore, who lost my prop play for me last week. I think he had 47,000 targets, and that's kind of the point. The Cardinals are not good. And it's not even just a skill thing. It's square pegs and round holes. The offense is just terrible. It's Kyler running around everywhere. And nothing happening, and then to Zach Ertz, really always going to have a pretty solid floor, I think, when that's the case, right? Carlos running around, plays are breaking down, he ends up throwing the ball to the biggest guy on the field. Again, good players do good things. Let's handicap this bad boy really quick. New Orleans Saints offense, really not as bad as you'd think. 23.5 points for 65 plays and 382 yards per game. Those are all in the top third, nearly 6 yards per play, again, in the top third. They move a little bit slow. They are an overkiller. Neutral seconds per play, neutral script, I should say, 33.5 seconds per play. That might be dead last in the league. Only going for 2.5 minutes time possession per drive. They're not very efficient, though I have liked the run game as of late. 15% rush DVOA, over 5 adjusted line yards, 28 attempts for 151 rush yards per game on the ground. Gotta like that. Remember, the running back yards don't match that. There are some Taysom Hill, rants in there, but those are really, really hard to predict. I'm not really the Taysom guy, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that he's there getting snaps and can impact the game. The Saints' pass game is really just meh at all, right? The -6% pass DVOA is just below average. 34 attempts, only 21 completions, 230 yards per game, 6.8 yards per attempt, 10.7 yards per completion. Just kind of average. It's the Cardinals' defense that's been really wonky now. They're very strong against the run, which is generally a good place to begin when you want to be a good defensive unit. The problem for the Cardinals is they're creating a pass funnel. So the rush D, again, very good. 4.2 adjusted line yards, 24 attempts for only 103.8 yards per game, 4.2 running back yards per attempt. Those are all in the top third, probably in the top 8. But then the passing stats really kind of falls off the cliff. 16% pass DVOA. They've only gotten 11 sacks. They're not getting to the quarterback. That's a 5% adjusted sack rate. 23 completions allowed for 235 yards. 6.8 per attempt. 9.9 per completion. Really matches up perfectly against the Saints. The Saints are probably able to do what they want to do as far as their boring passing game, right? It's not like the Saints are going to do whatever they want. I mean, doing whatever. It's just, I don't think the Cardinals are going to be able to handle just the Saints' very boring style of offense. They're going to run the ball with Kamara. That's going to force a player up, right? They're good against the run. Like I said, that's going to open the space there, and it's going to be Olave. I don't think the Cardinals have an answer for him. I think he's the best player on the field. Getting him back, really a big deal for them. Arizona offense, it's just, I want it to be so much better than it is. They're only scoring 19 points a game, but they run the most plays. So what's going on? They're horribly inefficient. 4.8 yards per play near the bottom. I mean, to run the most plays and get a middle of the pack yardage, 345 per game, just not any good. It's really, really frustrating. 34 yards per drive is good. They eat up more than 3 minutes per drive, which is good. 75% drive success rate also is better than average. More field goals than we want, less touchdowns than we'd like. It's just not there for them right now. It's just not there. They tried to force the run game. I just think everything they do looks so incredibly predictable, and you see that in these alignment statistics. Everybody is at like 100%, right? It's was Marquise Brown on the left side 100% of the time, and now it's going to be Hopkins on the left side 100% of the time. It's just, they're really, really boring, and they don't scheme the ball into the hands of their best players, something that I mentioned again at the outset. So I just don't really know what to expect for Arizona. I think everyone is consistently trying to buy the dip of the talent, buy the dip of the talent, buy the dip of the talent. Well, to me, the talent was Marquise Brown, and now that talent has gone astray. So I can't really get down with the Cardinals' offense. I mean, the passing offense, again, just wildly inefficient. 43 attempts, but only 5.3 yards per attempt, 8.2 yards per completion. I think those might be dead last. You're just not going to survive on that kind of stuff. I got some positional defensive stuff as well. Again, I'm always trying to stuff, 5 pounds of shite into a 3-pound box. Holla if you hear me. You know what I'm saying? Rate, review, and subscribe. That's a thank you. Press the like button if you think I'm putting on a bit of a display. I really up before the crack of dawn to bring you what I hope is one of the best mixtures of analytics and theory plus handicapping and daily plus jock market and like all this different life stuff and understanding, and hopefully you had a laugh, maybe even make a friend or two, because I know that's going on up in the community. Really do appreciate all you people. Remember, get up in the comments, I will get to you. Get on Twitter and tag me, tag Patty, and just boom, let us know how good of a job we're doing, man. People love that stuff in the internet age. Plus, I throw you a retweet and all that goodness, right? One hand washes the other. The main positional thing jumping off the board here, besides both teams being very tough on the running back, neither allowing more than 20 fantasy points points a game to the running back room. That's really tough. Is the Arizona Cardinals D against tight ends. They've been terrible, allowing 19 fantasy points a game, 7.5 catches for 84 yards. Flip side, Saints D has been very tough on tight ends, only 6.7 fantasy points a game. That's incredibly rough. Saints D has gotten touched through volume by wide receivers. So I guess what, Hopkins gets forced to rock. The big injury, though, I'm sorry, in secondary, oh gosh, shame on me. Marshawn Lattimore did bring up 3 DNPs in a row. So again, let me flip that and go, yeah, they'll probably get it done with Hopkins. But Hopkins is not this like field stretching world beater anymore. Those days are gone. He's good at the point of the catch, so he'll probably be able to get what he wants. So, but what's that? Short passes, maybe some first downs. Again, are they going to scheme him into it? I just don't know. I don't know. So that's your blue chip section. Again, I love Kamara. Especially for Jock market, he has a chance to be the number 1 player. You gotta like Murray. I'm afraid the price is going to be too high. Then after that, I don't know. Maybe Olave has a chance to be the top scoring player. I know people are falling in love with Taysom Hill. I can't pay the premium for that wide range of outcomes. Right? I'd rather lose on that one. And then past that, it's just really boring. You know, Rondell Moore works around the line of scrimmage. Zach Ertz going to work around the line of scrimmage. Maybe you think Hopkins gets into the end zone a couple times, so watch the IPO for him. So we're really kind of focusing on Kamara, Olave, Kyler Murray, and Nuke Hopkins as that central point to be that top return. Remember, $25 top return per share in Jock market. So I try and keep that IPO price for my top share players, right? The players I'm expecting. Although I'd like everyone to finish first. Generally doesn't happen. No, Greg Dulcich finished 4th, and he was at the bottom. So remember, you can, in showdown slates, anything can happen, especially with defenses on the field. So keep that in mind. Those are our guys that we're going to be circling. And again, like Eno Benjamin, maybe from like a volume standpoint, just like touch, standpoint, he could finish first. I am like so worried about the Arizona offense. And I think, he had his 18 touches, but it was only, 65 combined yards and no scores. Again, you could just see Kyler getting thrown off by the defensive front 7 and the Saints and struggling, because that's kind of what they've done all year. So, all right, man. That was the blue chip section. Rate, review, and subscribe. Press the like button, all that good stuff. Let's get the ball into the red zone with the penny stock section. But first, let me just take a quick breath. All right, let's get it. The ball is in the red zone. Let's punch the pigskin right in. It's your penny stock section brought to you by Jock Market. Love the daily app. Promo code is MMN. They're going to match the first $100 for free, and it's more than enough money to do damage. I think that's the most important thing, though I always preface it with this. If you're a first-time player, I know we are getting a lot of that. We're showing people the light, right? DFS is cool. Conventional DraftKings is cool. FanDuel is cool. Not knocking it. It's a 9-team parlay. It's extremely hard to hit, and you are forced into positional requirements and stuff like that. In a showdown, why not use the freedom, USA, and pick the players that you want. You just pick a quarterback. You just pick a tight end or not at all. So for the new players, I'm recommending that you play on paper. This is called demo trading, on Wall Street, meaning you don't have to use your cash. You could just see if you're going to be profitable first. People kind of lead with their chin in gambling, which is a big mistake. They end up losing and then throwing, more good money after bad. So try to make your money on paper first. Write down the closing prices are obvious. I like this player 1 share, this player 1 share, and then check it out and see how it closed and see if you would have made money. I have found in showdowns, you circle a couple players at the top with a ceiling price, right? Remember, $25 return. I like $12.50 because it leaves for you for 2-1, though I would have to mention a player like Kyler Murray who can dual threat it. You got to give a little burst to, right? He has to get a little bit. If you look up on the screen for the audio-only listeners, hop on over to YouTube, grab a screenshot, or on Twitter, Mayo Media Net handle, or myself at John Laghezza. I have all these numbers out there, and I do say it every time. I hope people don't get tired of the repetition. But we do have new people, and I think it's as important as seeing all the information at once and having something to refer to, getting familiar with the numbers, right? That's, I think, the most important thing. How showdown slates are different from main slates. In showdown slates, we want our cost per point around 500, hopefully. In main slates, we get that down to like 300. Why? That's why I recommend new players play in the main slates. A lot cheaper to get a chance at the top. Pop. And then ownership, and then, of course, we're doing IPOs for Jock Market as well. No one else is integrating all this stuff. So, again, I just have all this stuff here, and if you want to find it on the app, you have to go one by one by one. And, again, me just overdoing, where player A is going to do what we do here is overdo. Again, how if you hear me, Mayo Media Net. This is what we do, man. Me and you, the Cork Stats crew. All right, Kyler Murray and Andy Dalton at the quarterback position. Murray with the top projection, of course. The 11-2 salary reflects that L, though. Remember, remain lesson over and over until we remember these things to the point you start using them in your real life. Just because things are expensive doesn't mean you cannot find value in them, and the math reflects that. So Murray with the 11-2 salary opposed to Andy Dalton 9-4. Murray coming in at a much better cost per point, 520, opposed to Dalton's 696 because of the high projection. And then I think he has a wider range, that band of top outcomes. And again, that's reflected in the expected $16 IPO. This might be the one exception where you do go to $16 and grab a single share of Murray, because I really do think he's the top player, right? He has to be one of the top 2 players to profit there, and I think he is that. I just don't see 2 other players finishing above him, up or down, right? Because if the Cardinals win, he got them there. And if they're losing, he's be doing the hummingbird thing where he's just running around the guy's feet. It's like Twinkle Toes, Flintstone. He's a ridiculous player. Love Kyler Murray. They're a cliff and that stuff. They're an absolute disaster. It's horrible to watch, mate. There are some teams that I fret watching, and the Cardinals certainly are one of them. Into the running back room we go. It's Eno Benjamin. I mentioned he's going to get the rock. So the 16-point projection probably makes a lot of sense. The 8-2 salary, 515 cost per point, all that stuff really checks the box. The 56% ownership makes him tough, but you only have so many choices. You think you're going to have to get with Eno Benjamin. The one thing I'm looking at is the 885 IPO. Remember, he was one of the players on the short list of blue chips that we liked. He comes up at the single-digit IPO in a showdown slate. That's where I'd like to go. So I may even forego Murray at 16. I'd much rather have 2 shares of Eno Benjamin, where he only has to be one of the top 5 or 6 players in the game. I think 5 players in the game, and that will do it, right? So there is a lot of nuance that I think we're covering here that a lot of shows are not, in particular, like I said, when it comes to Jock market. Sorry, I do have it here while I was rambling. I brought up. So these are showdown returns. The first player is 25, like I said. The second is 20. The third is 16. The fourth is 12. The fifth is 10. Then sixth is 8. So, man, 5 players would have to beat Eno Benjamin if he comes in at 885. Circle him as a must. Alvin Kamara, gotta love him across the board. Just all of the juiciness that we love. The cost per point coming in a bit high, but like I said, I think the projection might be a bit low. Right? He's the touchdown guy. Take some scoring from 50 yards out. You just can't write that stuff into your narrative, although we didn't mention the narrative and consistency, but I do want to do that, right? So I'm not right and you're not wrong. We are just different in our approach. I try and show you, pull the curtain, and I try to show you the underpinnings, right? The rate stats and the advanced stats that I use to come to my conclusion. Then just be consistent in your narrative. So if you disagree with me, make sure it reflects in the board. And if you agree with me, let's make sure we're following through, because that's a mistake that I've made, even as a pro. These things happen. It just happens. Again, it's part of it. Decision. I'm a very good test taker. I've always been, because I move and talk so fast that when it's time to get nuts, I live in the red line. So for me, it's very easy. Things kind of slow down. There's a life lesson for you. Talk faster. All right, think faster. Sleep faster. That's an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. Sleep faster. I hate the man. Nobody's talking about, man. All right, so then it's Ingram, who I just can't get with the ridiculous cost per point, 945, because the 5.2 salary does not reflect the 5.5 points. No thanks to 10% ownership. You can have it. 345 IPO. Again, I think you can have it. I just think you can have it. He's not getting the rock enough to Rondale Moore, who is a disappointment, but the cost per point below that 500 number we had. So I think regardless of the 50% ownership you get with Rondale Moore, he's getting used all over the place. It sucks, right? Like I'm saying, it's always going to come back to me to the analysis that I do, right? So again, consistency, being thorough, and so it's there. So hold on, let's get some Rondale Moore stuff. Okay, 91% of snaps, so that's fantastic, but only routes on 42% of the dropbacks. Since he's come back, he has gotten the usage. 10% team target share, 7% of the air yards. That's on the season. Okay, but when you get down to the more granular stuff, 1.08 yard per route run, trash. 5.22 air yards per target, trash. 80% of his targets are less than 10 yards. So that's terrible. It's just not what we're looking for. People are expecting this really high kind of upside for more. I just don't really see it. So again, he could get there on volume. I'm more into the price. I'm more into the cost per point than my boy Olave, who I really like at 13 in DraftKings. I think this is an undersell because he is the end zone target. he's the main dude in New Orleans, right? Compared to more the usage stats are really thick. He's earned 42 targets on the year, 25 catches for 389, 22% of the team target share, 36% of the air yards. That's missing time, but 28% target per route run, 2.6 yards per route, 17.7 air yards per target, 1/3 of the targets under 10 yards, so 2/3 of the targets over 10 yards. Get with Olave, that's the guy you want with the mid kills per point, 573. Single-digit IPO, that's right around 10. So again, this slate kind of lining up to the guys that we like. Remember, I'm not going to get away from it. I'm sticking to my guns, and I'm saying no thanks to the rest. We mentioned in the last game, we said Dulcich, we said Lat Murray against all odds, and we got boom, we got it, right? And I didn't stretch and go. We stayed consistent. We stayed in our lane and got paid in the shade, laid like an egg. Baby. So then DeAndre Hopkins, I can't get to the 17-point projection until I see it first. Though again, I do understand if it is going to be a red zone thing. I think the expectation for him is to like go off, 12 catches, 160. I'm not seeing it. In the first game back, you can have that. So I'm not going to go get it. I'm going to watch it first. If Hopkins' IPO ends up in like the double digits, it's reading at 11 here. If the public takes him way up, I'm going to short DeAndre Hopkins and make that my experiment. I wouldn't recommend that until I come back with results, but they do have Jock Market has a shorting option. I was a nefarious stock bear for years. I mean, I was just shorting everything. I was shorting ever. I was just shorter, man, because I used to love to watch the world burn. Some men just like to watch the world burn. All right, last wide receiver, it's AJ Green, projecting 3.5 points, 2.6 salary, 742 cost per point. All this is just thanks, but no thanks. The single-digit ownership may draw in some people in DraftKings, but for us, we'll just say no thank ya. Yikes. 481 IPO is an absolute no-no when you compare next to Marcus Callaway has double the projection. So there's a perfect example of where Jock Market greater than sign DraftKings and why we do a lot of this analysis, kind of bidding these things and putting, again, the information up next to each other. Maybe it's me. I consider myself to be pretty smart, but at telling people, admitting in public that I like pictures, doesn't feel as smart as maybe I'd like it to, but it does, right? Having visualizations helps me, maybe because I move so fast, helps me to look at all these things and just get that kind of side-by-side comparison where, wait a minute, why chase AJ Green? Okay, there's that value lesson. Just because he's 2.6 thousand in DK doesn't make him a value, because you might only get the 3.5 points projected by the good people that run the Sims, in which case he was a bust. Whereas if Callaway, the same IPO, but double the DK salary, right? So you see, I actually love this. It ended up being an accidental awesomeness for us. Everything is awesome. And then let's wrap it up with the tight ends. It's Juwan Johnson, 8-point projection. Again, I think we're going to be above the field right now because Troutman is still, I don't know why they list him as anything but out. He hasn't practiced in days. I don't think he's going to play smash that soon, although teaser. Do 3,000 salary, he's a must. 375 cost per point, he's a must. 33 ownership, he's a must. 455 IPO, he's a must. So we're going to go aim for the top with maybe a little bit of Murray, get some Eno Benjamin and Chris Olave, aiming for the top of the board. And then Juwan Johnson, if we snag the 450 IPO, he has to finish 9th or better. So we'll probably look for to get Juwan at 460, have him finish 6th on the board. Right, again, we want to be realistic. To have him finish 6th, that other game, Dulcich was just okay and finished 4th. So this game, if there is not a lot of scoring, you could finish 6th, I don't know, 4 for 50. And if he like rolls into the end zone, like we're in there like swimwear for sure. So that's your penny stocks brought to you by Jock Market. Download the bad boy, rate, review, and subscribe, all that awesome stuff. All right, that's our penny stock section. We're now got a goal to go. Let's smash the rock into the painted area so I could do my little touchdown dance. I should come with a new touchdown dance every single show. For those who don't know me, I'm a legitimate crazy person. This is not just an act, and I have won a dance competition on a cruise ship, and I have the very embarrassing videos to prove it. Yeah, man, the last song was Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing. I mean, I'm just out here clowning myself totally, but that's what it's all about, me. And, I get to myself before you do, right? Other people care too much what other people think. I don't care, y'all. I'm a barrel laughs, baby. All right, let's get this ball into the end zone. But first, a deep breath. All right, let's wrap this one up strong as always with our Week 7 Thursday Night Football reception prop that's brought to you by Jock Market. And all right, we're sticking with Juwan Johnson. This one, we already began to lay out. It was the Arizona matchup is not any good. The defense in general is not any good. And I believe the focus will be on Kamara, of course, and Chris Olave returning. So we're going to try and, again, counter punch from the punch, work around. We got smoked on DeAndre Carter in the last one. Everyone seemed to hit it there. I guess, my blind spot was par. I didn't realize he was going to be back and had that kind of role. And again, we just got to move forward. It's always a matter of the balance of trying to correct as we're moving forward, right? We can't stop the ship to cry about something. We can understand that I got to be a little more thorough in reports. This one, we know the back door there is Troutman. Even if he plays, I think it's decoy. Very rarely a guy's going to DMP all the way throughout. I don't think he plays. I just think this is a late announcement. So give me Juwan Johnson. If you see it up on the board, the standard prop is 25 receiving yards at minus 115. I saw minus 112, minus 118. Get it right around there. That one, I think, is a smash. And if you're into more of the detailed kind of betting stuff, you can check out my Patreon page. It's free. Freetreon for you and Metreon. John Laghezza, NFL, MLB moving averages, all the same stuff. You can check it out on Twitter. It's a pinned tweet. We have a CLV model for betting, which is really, really successful so far, as far as getting in front of these things. The outcomes have been good too, but we're winning. But I think it's more about getting in front of the points and how these market moves. I think, again, I like to give people the tools that help them really take off from there. Right? This is the kind of critical tool that could help you change your trajectory of your own small business in betting. Right, so understand how these markets shift and thinking about money lines versus against the spread. And then we're doing prop betting, and then when baseball betting, and once baseball really comes, it's really just freaking going nuts. So yeah, check it out. It's all the nonstop degenerative action you could ask for. Now, I do have a little bit of cherry on top for this Johnson one, so check it out. All right, Juwan Johnson plus 30 yards in 4 of the 5 games he's played, so he seems like a lock to get to 25. In the 2 games without Adam Troutman, he ran routes on more than 70% of dropbacks. That's pretty much your elite level for tight ends, 70-75%. Earning in each of those 2 games at least 15% of the team target share, at least 17% target per route run. So he's being looked at. And then, again, I mentioned Arizona D per game versus tight ends. The 19 fantasy points is 31st, 7.5 receptions is 32nd, and the 84 receiving yards is 31st. I've also got here's a list of tight ends so far this year that have gone over this receiving prop. Travis Kelce, all right, he's really good. Darren Waller, he's really good. Dallas Goedert, he's really good. Tyler Higbee, he's good, but it's volume. Noah Fant, all right, now we're starting to drop off a little bit. Foster Moreau, wait, what? And Tommy Tremble. So every single tight end and their mom seems to go for 25 receiving yards against these Cardinals. As a tight end, the linebacking crew not very good at defending the pass. So give me Juwan Johnson. He also used to be a receiver, I believe, in his college days. So I really like that transition. I think he fits in really well, and I think it fits into the scheme we'll be seeing. Again, Dalton, extremely vanilla. They don't really stretch the field. The eye of Sauron, the defensive focus, will be on Kamara and Olave. Not sure they're going to really care if Johnson goes, 6 for 51, right? I don't think they're going to care about that, but us as bettors do. So last little thing is, if you're into the alt props, that's what I like to post on my Patreon page. Right, again, they can be frustrating, but a lot of these are like plus 200. The Juwan Johnson alt prop for 40 yards is plus 220. So that's where I'm at. I'd rather just risk a lot less and go for it. Not say go for it all, like it's a moonshot. I mean, 40 receiving yards for a guy that's done it a couple times that doesn't have his counterpart, in a game with that kind of matchup. So give me Juwan Johnson. I think all this planet's kind of aligned for him to go over that. But again, if you don't want to risk it and you'd rather just maybe get the layup, I think the layup is at 25 receiving yards. That's available right now. I just checked it this morning, this lovely Thursday, and that will do it. It's the fastest show in NFL absolutely anywhere, man, right? Analysis, advanced stats, handicapping, DFS, Jock market, just every single thing they can handle, every single thing. Because I think that in itself is the key to succeeding in this new and ever-changing market of legality, right? So the influx of legalization has saturated markets with content. So I think first things first is knowing where to filter good content. I really feel like we're getting it here where there's just stuff no one else is doing. The drive stats, the pace stats, and the rate stuff I think is really impactful. The route information and the application for Jock Market v conventional DFS I think is really, really important. And if you agree, do all this stuff. I just started asking for it. Just do all this stuff. Love the internet reactions lately because I found, believe it or not, like it sounds corny, but that's what's been the grower of the community, right? Is people see regular people like, wow, this is awesome. And just that means more than 100, promotional tweets from the company itself. That's just always how life is, right? I think, again, that leads into why I think the show is so impactful, because there's really a truly personal touch here. I care very much about you. And anyone that's taken the initiative to reach out to me knows that I'm going to answer you. Like, we're going to get down to it. And if the questions are really good, I put them up for the public. And if the questions are really, really good, they become tools. And some of the questions are really, 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 really good. And they end up as part of the model. Hat tip to one of my listeners out there that got us into the F5 team totals for MLB betting, right, to work with my model, the F5 model I do. And boom, we took off, made a bunch of money. Those bets are doing awesome, and we're looking forward to it next season. So again, I'm really malleable and flexible because I feel like I have my ear to the ground, my thumb on the pulse of the people, right? Without you, I'm some fat idiot like screaming at his computer. It's stupid. All right, man, let's get out of here. I really enjoy you. My time is precious, and I try and treat yours, the same. So give me all the love. Give me give me this a song. Why is that not ringing? I'm a bit of a Rolodex with songs. I'm gonna name that tune guy for sure. All right, that's it. Thanks for picking up what we're putting down here at Mayo Media Net. Give us all the stuff. Rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Lots of cool DFS content. Mayo's content himself is off the rack, man. I just love Patty. I'm addicted to this Tim, Jeff, Pat combination. I'm just absolutely hooked. So enjoy the Thursday night game. It's Saints, it's Cardinals. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your day. And when we're done with the book, enjoy that pay, everybody. And remember, when you work this hard, it's going to feel a lot less like luck. Peace.